Back on the SportsMax Zone, football topping the agenda on the Zone today. The Europa League group stage continued on Thursday with 15 remaining games of match day 1. In one of the SportsMax featured fixtures, England's Leicester City hosted Italy's Napoli at the King Power Stadium, and we have those highlights.
So away we go. A first ever meeting between Leicester City and Napoli. There goes Barnes. Goes for the return from Daka. And in comes Perez! The perfect start for Leicester City. What a night to get it. Bertrand's header finding Barnes. Look at this return ball from Daka. Absolutely perfectly weighted. And no one tracking Perez in his run into the box. And that's the advantage of him playing deeper here tonight. He can make these late runs. This could break kindly for Harvey Barnes. Yes, he's done it! A brilliant finish! Just seconds later, they give the ball away. And suddenly they're in. Barnes clearly onside. He took his time. Picked his spot. The assist from Iheanacho, absolutely inch perfect. Barnes did the rest. Down by Ruiz, Osimhen could be in here. He is. It's a goal for Napoli. The Nigerian lifting it over Schmeichel. Insigne involved, got it back from Ruiz. On by Elmas. Ruiz eventually finding Osimhen. Intricate stuff. And an excellent finish. Tielemans. Catania with the layoff. Di Lorenzo. Ruiz to Politano. Osimhen! There's the equaliser! He's done it again! In a high-quality game. Space here for Matteo Politano. And what a terrific header from Victor Osimhen. Petagna, Ruiz, Politano dispossessed, and there is the full-time whistle.
Yeah, so great result there for Napoli, coming from behind. Former Trinidad Tobago international and World Cup defender 2006 in Germany, Brent Sancho, joins us now to recap this and other matches from match day 1. Brent, a couple of delicious goals there delivered in this match. Barnes and Osimhen.
Yeah, an excellent game of football, Lance. I thought it was open-ended, and of course, both teams was certainly going for a result, a win, I would say. It's very rare you see in football that an away team play and approach the game the way Napoli did. As I said, it added, of course, to the terrific spectacle that was that 2-2 draw. I think Leicester, Lance, will feel a bit aggrieved. They may have felt that they had that one in the bag. And, of course, Napoli really turning things on at the end. A 2-2 result, a fair one, I would suggest, at the end of it. But, boy, I tell you what, some great goals and some exciting football throughout this game.
Yeah, and the clinical lob there by Osimhen, one of 2 goals he had today. A lot of composure in the box from the Nigerian.
Yeah, he was a handful all game, wasn't he, really? And I think the lack of pace in the middle of the Leicester defence, of course, attributed to that. But take nothing away for the tall Nigerian. He was always in the right spot at the right time. I think he had a couple of chances as well in the first half where I felt he could have done a little bit better, but he certainly came to life in the second half and easily could have had himself a hat-trick or even more, as I said, with the chances that he missed in the first half. Always trying to get in behind the defence. As I said, a headache for the 2 extremely slow centre-halves in the back, in Soyuncu and, of course, Vestergaard. And, of course, when Johnny Evans played as well in the first half, he also had a headache with the Nigerian. Really good value for money. And, as I said, probably should have ended up with a hat-trick or more.
Yeah, I suspect though, Brent, that you may not be that surprised by the tide in Napoli performance, because they have won all 3 of their matches in Serie A so far, including a win over your precious Juventus.
Yeah, they certainly had a good win over Juventus, Lance, and they've been good value for, as I said, they've been good starting off this Serie A. And you know, I was looking at the way they would probably approach this one. I thought they would have made a whole host of changes, may have gone into a bit of a defensive mode and try to lock up shop and, of course, get a result, a drawn result, come up with, of course, not losing the game. But they were completely the opposite. They played at the front foot. They were very attacking. They played with 3 across the front in a 4-3-3, and they really went for it. And it was impressive, as I said, as the way they approached it. I think the substitutes that came off the bench for Roma added as well. Tactically, as I said, they approached it very well. And all I can really give for Roma is an A+, as you rightfully said. It's a credit to the way they've started. For Napoli, it's a credit for the way they started the season. And it's carried on, because Leicester, as I said, played very, very well, and would think that they did more than enough to win a football game.
Yeah, Brent, and mathematically, of course, Leicester would be very upset with themselves because they blew a 2-0 lead. And when we think about the point standings, we have to remember that the team that tops the group goes straight to the last 16. So this doesn't really look too good for them as they start off.
Yeah, it's one of those, Mariah, where looking at this fixture, I think both teams would have felt to themselves that this is basically a final. As it relates to the points, as it relates to who moves on to the second part of the tournament. Of course, the second place team has to play the third place team from the Champions League. So not a lost cause, but it would be a longer route, as you would have mentioned. So I felt that Napoli may have gone at it in a way, again, a bit cautious, but their performance and the way they approached this was spot on, and it was good from a neutral perspective. But moving forward, I think if anyone was to come out of this game and thinking, yeah, you know, we enjoyed that was good for us, it would be Napoli, because as you rightfully said, I think Leicester, I would have felt that they had it all wrapped up. I thought they had it all wrapped up. They made changes to suggest that they had it all wrapped up. But Napoli finished the game strong, and I would even say that I think Leicester was fortunate to come out with a tie.
Yeah, yes, Brent. In another match on SportsMax, the French outfit Marseille travelled east to take on the Russian club Locomotive Moscow. And here's how that one went.
Guendouzi quickly round the corner for Under to chase. He's got the pace to get him round the back and then goes down. Penalty surely. This to put Marseille in front, and he does so straight down the middle. Under, full of running, full of purpose, great ball. Bamba Dieng unable to add to his double at the weekend, but another in Europe this evening. What a result for Locomotive Moscow. The railway men look set to hit the buffers on match day 1, as Jorge Sampaoli's side had the better of it, especially after the home side went down to 10 men. But that man on loan from Chelsea scored a peach to cancel out Cengiz Under's earlier penalty, which the Turkish international won himself. Relief for Loco, really, because they were second best throughout the piece. It's a tough one for Marseille to take, as they only take a point back to France.
So 10 men towards the last half an hour of the game, and Locomotive Moscow clinching an 89th minute strike and getting a point at home there. A point, as the commentator just mentioned, they looked as if they may not have had. Let's have a quick look now at all the results on this Thursday in the Europa League. Yeah, the other match from day 1, yeah, well, okay, Brent, talk to us then quickly as we wait for those full results from the matches today. Locomotive Moscow looked as if they were going to give up all 3 points at home there and saved in the last minute. Yeah,
I certainly thought they were done and dusted, particularly when they went down to 10 men. but they really dug in and spurred, of course, by the home fans, and they gave a very gutsy performance at the end of the day. I think Marseille, Lance, a lot has not been said about this team. It's a team that I think will genuinely challenge PSG Liga and has all the attributes, of course, to make a splash in this tournament as well. Of course, they're managed by Jorge Sampaoli, no stranger to the viewers here on SportsMax. He managed, of course, Argentina for a very brief stint. A lot of conversation about his managerial style during that tenure. But he certainly transformed this Marseille team, and they look like a true machine, well-disciplined, of course, well-coached, good tactical approach, and some talented players within the ranks. And I certainly feel like that they can come out of this group and do well in this tournament.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there, Brent, because Locomotive Moscow have been pretty solid in their domestic league so far this season, undefeated from their 7 games with 4 victories so far. Marseille, to travel to Russia and sort of impose themselves in the way that they did, is suggesting that Marseille is a team that we may have to look at.
Yeah, we will have to look at, because they're playing with a lot of confidence. They blew out a Monaco side over the weekend. And they've, as I said, they've seemed to find their mojo a bit under Jorge Sampaoli. Again, as I said, as the season continues on and they continue to grow in confidence and grow and play in the way that they've been playing, I think they'll be difficult to play against. Look, going to Russia is a very, very difficult place, as you would know, Lance, to get a point. And they really should have come up with all 3 points. They'll be disappointed heading back to that plane to France that they didn't come up with the 3 points.
And Brent, another mouth-watering match from today, of course, West Ham. They won 2-0 over Dinamo Zagreb. An opening goal from Michail Antonio, pure brilliance. And then, of course, 5 minutes into the second half, we had one from Declan Rice. How good was West Ham today?
Yeah, I thought they've been good. And look, they've really a team that has improved drastically over the last 2 or 3 years, that we're now having conversations about them being in Europe. And of course, conversations about them having a deep run in the Europa League. Of course, Michail Antonio, no stranger to Jamaican fans, is really starting to come alight in the Premiership. I must admit, I'm like a bit surprised that he never really got a call for the English national team. No disrespect to Jamaica, but the way he played last season, of course, it's gone into this season as well, getting the Player of the Month in the Premiership. And I think behind him, West Ham has a striker that can get them goals, and they have a very talented squad. They went out and they made some good additions to the team going into this season. And you need depth to play in this format of the competition. And I think with the depth that they now have, I think West Ham would be able to make a decent run in this competition.
For me personally, I would think that for West Ham, getting out of the group stages, they just have to, avoid becoming complacent. Let's just say you were the coach, Brent, what would you, suggest for West Ham to avoid, getting complacent and losing their cool, not emerging out of the group?
Mariah, I always feel in a competition like the Europa League, and certainly not like the Champions League, but certainly with the Europa League, players sometimes look at it as a fixture that they don't want to play. It's played on a Thursday night, games are on a weekend in the Premiership, and sometimes the mindset from a psychological perspective puts you at a bit of a challenge, because players may not be up for it. And, it's one of those where a manager has to keep his players focused. We've seen so many times where British teams go into this tournament in particular unmotivated, getting poor results because of the fact that it's one of those competitions that's not really heralded like the Champions League. And to get players G'd up and ready to go for this tournament is always a challenge. So you're right to talk about complacency, but I think David Moyes understands his charges and knows how to get the best out of them. As I said, you need a deep squad so you'll be able to rotate so you can get the best out of your players.
Yeah, there was a win for Olympiacos at home today over Antwerp by 2-1, and they had a goal disallowed by VAR as well. Getting their campaign off to a good start at home, Olympiacos. And Brent, you're going to stay with us because we have a lot more football to discuss in the Europa League and the Europa Conference League. And we'll be back with that after this break.
welcome back to the SportsMax Zone, and we continue with European club football on the SportsMax Zone. The inaugural staging of the European Conference League got underway Thursday. Introduced for the 2021-2022 season, the Europa Conference League is the third tier of European club football after the Champions League and the Europa League. Despite being the third tier, teams of good repute are participating in the competition. In the Eternal City, double champions and Europa League winning manager Jose Mourinho was in the fold as his team AS Roma hosted CSKA Sofia, and we have those highlights.
Graham Carey gets involved, gets a little bit fortunate there as the ball trickles past two Roma defenders, and then with his left foot it's a thunderous finish with a 1-0 lead, but they won't be just happy just to shut up shop. Here's Pellegrini, went for the curler, oh magnificent! Still not breaking into a smile, Jose Mourinho, but inside he will purr with delight at that exquisite finish by Lorenzo Pellegrini. And off he goes, again displaying that pace that he's got. Couldn't thread it through. In comes Perez. Good work from Mazikou, but he's lost it. Space here for El Shaarawy. Great strike. Roma have the lead. Two quality goals. Full marks to Shomorodov for his spade work initially, and then this pass, spotting that El Shaarawy had space. Furian now up with the move as well. Cutting it back here for Pellegrini. He scuffed it, but it bobbles beyond Bussato. It's the other leg by the looks of that angle. Let's have another look here. Left onto the right shin. Still plenty of players waiting for a decent ball. Smalling is there against the post, but helped in by Mancini. It's 4 for Roma. It was his fellow central defender Chris Smalling who was denied initially. His effort came back off a post, and Mancini got his feet right and managed to lift it into an empty net. Abraham is in, flag stays down, he won't miss. It's 5, and his first in Europe for his new club. As the referee blows for time.
Brent Sancho is still with us. Brent, Jose Mourinho has hit the ground running as AS Roma manager, and he's yet to taste defeat. How much are you backing him to become the first manager to complete the treble of the Champions League, Europa League and Conference League?
Certainly not a guy that you would, of course, bet against, Jose Mourinho. I think when he was first hired as Roma manager, of course, that was about 15 days after he was sacked by Tottenham Hotspurs. I think all of us, there's not a football pundit in the world that could have predicted that move. And of course, because of many reasons, one in particular, it's not a Jose Mourinho type of club since he's left Porto to go to. They don't have the kind of funds that Jose Mourinho is used to in terms of spending the transfer market. And of course, the squad is not the type of squad that Jose Mourinho is used to managing. So there were a lot of surprises. There were a lot of persons that were writing it off and thinking it would have been a car crash. But listen, what he's been able to do since he's been there, of course, undefeated so far in Serie A. The team has been playing with great confidence, Mariah, and as well, the defensive stability that we've used to seeing from Jose Mourinho is still there. But he's also now added a lot of attacking flair. They've been very exciting going forward. And we saw that today with the 5 goals they scored against CSKA.
Definitely. I like to call them Sofia for short. Because, Brent, you get the sense that, of course, with Mourinho at the forefront, the players will believe, especially because, you know, of his reputation before. And the result that we saw today is exactly what we would continuously expect from them with him at the helm. Yeah, you know, there was a sense after he left, particularly Man United, that he started to clash with big personalities. Of course, Luke Shaw comes to mind, Paul Pogba comes to mind when he went with the type of course, discussions that were coming out of the dressing room and the feelings, and it seems to have problems with big personalities, something similar as well at Tottenham Hotspurs, although you didn't really hear
particular instances, but you could feel that they had those sorts of situations. So I think going to Roma, where it's a young squad, not really any particular superstar or big egos in that locker room. So I think it's easier for him to manage. I think the young players of Roma are buying into him. It's a good setup there, a team with some good youngsters coming through. And of course, bringing in the likes of Tammy Abraham, has been, of course, a big plus for Jose as well. So I think it's the type of squad he needs right now. And let's be abundantly clear. I think Roma needs Jose Mourinho as much as Jose Mourinho needs Roma, because he's lost 2 jobs in a row, of course, with Tottenham and Manchester United in very strange circumstances, a lot to do with results. And you would suspect that if he was to go again, be fired again under those sorts of situations, you would have to wonder where would he go next. So he needs to do well here at Roma. And I think the marriage so far, although as awkward as it may seem, seems to be working out quite fine.
Yeah, and Brent, I want your take on that first Pellegrini goal. Lorenzo Pellegrini's silky skills, the first touch magical, the finish really sublime. I know you're one for the pure class of strikers.
Yeah, certainly. And, a lot of, I like the build of play as well, Lance, for most of what Roma has been able to do throughout that game. But that goal in particular, of course, was a brilliant one in terms of being able to put it in the top corner. The touch was superb, but to be able to get the trajectory to put the ball in that part of the goal, it was simply sublime. Look, Sofia started off the game well, going 1 goal up, but it was all Roma from there. And that's the kind of things Roma players have been conjuring up for Jose Mourinho, that sort of skill, that sort of ability we've been seeing in the Serie A games, and now we're seeing them transfer it, of course, over to the Conference League. And you have to wonder, as Mariah asks the question, can he go on to do this amazing feat and of course win the whole thing?
Yeah, Tottenham were up against Rennes today, and they came from a goal down to get some points there in a 2-2 draw, 4-goal game. We mentioned at the top, Brent, that there were a lot of goals in the Europa League today, including all the group matches and also the Conference League. We also saw just 1 goalless game in the Europa, but a 2-2 score there with Spurs.
Yeah, I must admit, Lance, I was a bit disappointed in Spurs, and look, they could always hang their hat on the excuses of injuries and, of course, the excuses of the depletion of the squad as it relates to what they put out there. But I think the way they started the game, and I think the way they applied themselves as well, I think they only have themselves to blame, really. And Rennes would consider themselves very unfortunate, because I thought they did more than enough to walk away with all 3 points, and they were actually outstanding. It reminded me a lot of the young boys' performance against Manchester United earlier this week. But Spurs seem to have a problem when they play in these types of competitions. We saw it under Jose Mourinho, where they can be underwhelming at times, and we saw it again here today. There's no excuse. I mean, yeah, we talk about injuries, but I think the application of some of the players is obviously going to come to question. When you play in these types of teams, Lance, you have to match the intensity. And if you don't, you're going to find yourselves in problems. And that's what happened to Spurs today.
It's so funny that you talk about injuries, because at the end of today's match, their manager, Nuno Espirito Santo, he said, he cursed their luck, saying that Tottenham, of course, blaming the result on injuries. And Brent, you get the sense that, of course, with these players missing, they lack that attacking capability. And if they continue in this manner, they will, they won't be able to win.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with him. I do sympathize as it relates to his injuries problem that he has right now. Some of his better players are out. Bud Ryan, of course, being 1 injured today, and Lucas Moura, the second, couldn't continue. And, there's a lot of youngsters in the team that was in and around the Spurs lineup this afternoon. So, yeah, look, you could hang your hat there for a bit. But as I said, I was just disappointed with the fact that they never matched Rennes' intensity. They never matched, even in some parts of the field, they didn't even match them as it relates to their quality and ability. And to me, if I was manager, I'd be a bit concerned with that, because they were second best for most of the night against Rennes, albeit, of course, as I said, the injuries is a concern. But you're talking about two primary things in football that they didn't have today, which was, of course, the intensity that Ren showed and the quality in some areas that Ren showed.
And Brent, we saw him make 8 changes from Saturday's 3-0 defeat against Crystal Palace. Was that a smart move tactically?
I think he didn't have a choice, to be honest with you, Mariah. As I said, this is a Thursday game. They have games in the Premiership coming up. They'd have to rest players. We saw Harry Kane coming off as a substitute. This was all geared towards making sure that he had fresh legs on the weekend, and we could understand that. He has to have a squad. As I said earlier in this broadcast, you need to have a deep squad to compete in Europa. Because at the end of the day, when you come up against the likes of the Rennes and the Locomotives and those types of teams, when they play at Tottenham Hotspurs or any team from the Premiership, they're going to give it their all. They're going to run them for 90-plus minutes. As I said, you saw it with young boys. So the Premiership teams have to make sure that they have the depth and the quality and the ability to compete, because they're going to get beat if they're not able to do that. And that's a fact. So as much as Nuno would have liked to win today and play some of his better players for the full 90 minutes, it'd be crazy, because at the end of the day, the most important competition for any manager in the Premiership would always be the Premiership title. Of course, that's if you're not Pep Guardiola, because he's got it for the Champions League.
Well, Brent, thank you so much. We'll chat again soon, because football is just getting started. We have a lot to talk about.
Certainly. Okay, guys, enjoy the rest of your show.
Thanks again, of course, Brent Sancho there, our SportsMax Zone football analyst, former TNT international, and a lot more titles that I could continue with. Well, still to come on the SportsMax Zone, we tell you about a slightly improved performance by the West Indies women in the 4th one-day international against South Africa in Antigua. Lance will be at the track, and next, Virat Kohli is in the spotlight. Fazir Mohammed joins us as we talk about why this superstar is relinquishing the T20 captaincy following the World Cup in the UAE and Oman.